You know, about a week ago, I had a subscriber send me a really weird clip, and it made me think of the movie The Ring. Naturally, I cannot think of The Ring without simultaneously thinking about the Japanese film was based off of Ringu. And I cannot think about both Ringu and The Ring at the same time without thinking about Western adaptations. Western adaptations are what happen when a foreign country makes a really good film, and we, the Americans, take that film and basically recreate it scene for scene and sometimes even shot for shot in English. You could argue that the fact that we Americans can't just read subtitles for 90 freaking minutes is a depressing sign. And it is. But I also kind of find it fascinating because it shows how two different cultures would go about the same story. This is no more prevalent than in these two movies because they are both good. Now, many people consider Ringu better just because it was the first. That might be a harsh generalization, but it's probably not that harsh. So which film really is better? Today, we are going to see which movie is scarier, more suspenseful, and better made. This is Ringu vs. The Ring. Ringu is based off of a Japanese book the same name, but it takes a lot of liberties. The Ring is pretty much based off of the movie Ringu, not the book Ringu, so I really don't have to talk about the book at all. But that does bring up one problem I have with Ringu. Ringu in Japanese, oddly enough, means ring. In The Ring, the actual shape is a motif and is throughout the entire movie a motif. So it makes sense that this movie is called The Ring. I can't say that about Ringu because there isn't a ring motif in Ringu. Maybe there were more ring-related things in the book that they just didn't use, but that begs the question why they kept the title. You can make a movie based off of a book that has a different title. I mean, right off the top of my head, I can name one. The Thing is based off of a book called Who Goes There? All I'm saying is that you shouldn't have kept the name if you didn't keep why the name makes sense. But other than the title thing, the two movies are pretty similar. Both movies have this plot. There's a strange VCR tape, and everybody who watches it mysteriously dies 1 week after their viewing. A reporter who watches the videotape is trying to solve the mystery of it, not only to save her own life, but also to save the life of her son who watched the tape later. The only real difference is the fact that The Ring is about 20 minutes longer. So with that in mind, let's compare our main characters. The two leads are Reiko Asakawa, played by Nanoko Matsushima, and Rachel Keller, played by Naomi Watts. Both women turn in good performances. Well, I assume Matsushima gets a good performance. It sounded good to me, but maybe in Japanese it was horrible. I don't know. The characters act similarly, and the biggest difference between them is more in how the movies spend their time. In Ringu, it spends more time developing Reiko's relationship with her ex, Ryuji. There's an ex in both films, and it's who our reporter had the kid with. In The Ring, however, a lot more time is spent developing the relationship between Rachel and her son. There are pros and cons to both methods, but I think that The Ring made a marginally better decision because both heroines have, saving their sons as their ultimate goals throughout the entire movie. But where the better character emerges is in the subtleties of their performances. In The Ring, Rachel is on top of things for most of the movie. She's good at her job, jokes around, and often tells people what's what.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, this is the part where I say you're a flake, never finishes anything. Then you say I'm an obsessive bitch, needs to lighten up. Then I storm out, all pissed off, kicking myself for ever thinking that you could just grow up. So why don't we just cut to that part right now and save ourselves a lot of grief?
In Ringu, however, Reiko is played a little bit differently. Reiko is a little less sure than Rachel and spends a lot of the scenes a little helpless. It doesn't get in the way because she still does the same stuff, but you can tell that Reiko isn't as sure of herself as Rachel is. You can draw your own conclusions from that, but I think this gives the edge to Reiko, really, because she is more apprehensive but still does the things that Rachel does. Reiko has a lot more to prove and went farther as the story progressed than Rachel did. It's not like Rachel didn't have to overcome any demons herself, and the difference isn't that big, but when it comes to the main character, I have to give this one to Ringu. There are other characters, but they don't really sway the odds for either movie, so let's talk about these movies' direction. The key to these films is atmosphere. These are horror movies with no gore or reveal at the last possible second and almost no jump scares, so you need good direction to make it spooky. The Ring creates atmosphere the traditional way, gloomy lighting, a spooky score, and blue filters. Lots and lots and lots and lots of blue filters. At least 50% of The Ring is tinted blue. And I mean that too. Look at this. This movie is divided into 6 parts on my computer, and 5 out of the 6 thumbnails are blue. Ringu, on the other hand, is not traditional at all. This movie has very odd direction. There are a lot of awkward angles, cramped shots, and a score unlike any I've ever heard in my life. It actually kind of reminds me of Stanley Kubrick. I give it points for originality, but sometimes it goes over that. Feet! I'm gonna have to give this one to The Ring, even though it takes a lot of cheap shots. And when I say cheap, I mean really, really cheap. You know how sometimes a scene is really quiet, and then it smash cuts to the next scene that starts out with a loud noise? That happens way too many times in The Ring for it to be a coincidence. Ringu was silly at times, but at least it wasn't so needlessly cruel. Sorry, I decided to start off this take by making a milkshake. Anyway, like good direction, good acting is essential if you want anyone to take your movie seriously. I don't follow Japanese cinema, but the actors who played Reiko did have a lot of experience by the time 1998 came around through roles in television. And Naomi Watts was fresh off of her award-winning role in Mulholland Drive. Both women have spent a lot of their movies keeping the audience interested with no help, but they both do well. But in pretty much anything else, Ringu wins. There are some admittedly silly performances in The Ring.
Let's figure this out together right now.
It's too late, Noah.
Stop it, okay? There's a reason that we're here.
What?
I don't know, okay? But it's something in this room. I mean, it's in this phone. It's in this television.
I am so angry. I hate you, furniture. Why, Lisa? Why? There's one scene, however, that neither movie got right. Look, I'm sorry, but I don't think there should have been a scream there. Next are the effects. I'll make this quick. Here's The Ring. And here is Ringu. Well, they're both scarier than The Ring Terror's realm. Next topic. The biggest difference between the two movies was the history of the mysterious tube. It really says a lot about what these two countries find interesting. From what I've seen in Japanese cinema, it has a lot more of a romanticized vibe than American cinema. There's more of a fascination of the folklore and the occult than there is in American cinema, which is more focused on reality. This might be why found footage is so much more popular in America than it is in pretty much anywhere else in the world. This is laid out neatly by the exclamation of the tape. In Ringu, the tape is created by the ghost of a creepy little girl named Sadako, a psychic who was pushed in a well by her mean scientist father on account of her being so powerful she could kill a person with a thought. In The Ring, the tape is created by a creepy little girl named Samara, a crazy girl who was pushed in a well by her also crazy mother, on account of Samara being too crazy and destructive to be the daughter that her mother always wanted. In Ringu, the little girl's mother was also psychic. Japan really seems to like their psychics. I saw a nearly identical scene in The Curse, by the way. This differs from the American version, where the supernatural only really starts when Samara dies. She does manage to be really creepy, though. Fun fact. The girl who played Samara is the same girl who voiced Lilo from Lilo and Stitch, and for some reason that doesn't surprise me. The two different videos have very different scare tactics as well. The tape in Ringu is very reserved, mostly stagnant images and almost no sound, while the tape in The Ring has a score as well as a lot more movement. Both scary tapes are handled very well though, because they are both very disturbing and very creepy. Look at that man with a t-shirt on his head. He's so evil he doesn't even want to look at what he's pointing at. The last death scenes are also handled very well in both cases because they are the scariest scenes in each movie. Wow. Sure was lucky that both the televisions were only about 2 feet off the ground, or she would have done a face plant. By the way, what happens if the week ends in a place without a TV? What does she use to make her creepy entrance in then? Another thing I don't get is the quote-unquote twist at the end. Spoiler! Spoiler! At the end of each film, our heroine assumes that the curse is over because they didn't die 1 week after watching the tape. This connected in both films to the fact that they found the creepy girl's remains and gave them a proper burial. But it comes as a shock to both the characters and the audience when the ex, who watched the tape 1 day after Our Lady did, is killed. It's then revealed that in order to not die, you have to make a copy of the tape and show it to somebody else, which is why the two women survived. Why? Why does their making a copy of the tape matter? You still would have watched the tape, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay, you've heard me discuss the pros and cons of both films, talk about the cultural differences, and made it clear I like both movies, so I guess I have to get to the part where I say which film I think is better. And the answer is actually really simple. I like The Ring better because it's longer. It wasn't until I watched both films back to back that I realized how complicated the story really is, so The Ring tells it better because it gives the story more time to develop. There are more scenes between Rachel and her son, there are more scenes developing the story of the accursed video, and I like the creative scenes in The Ring, where Rachel uses the tape itself to find out things about the tape's history, which are scarce in Ringu. That's not to say Ringu is bad, though, I just thought the story was more suited to 2 hours than it was to 90 minutes. So overall, both films are good, but The Ring is just a little bit better to me, at least. I would like to thank Aramas Okadas for sending me that clip that started the whole thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I just noticed while I was recording this that I watched the clip exactly 1 week ago. What the? No. No. No! No!